Welcome once again, everyone. My name is Pamela Ramnares. I am an Ayurvedic practitioner, yoga teacher, and Reiki master. And on behalf of Asha Experience, I would like to give you this warm welcome to today's event. So, as many of you know, today is World Cancer Day, and we all probably know someone who have a loved one who has suffered or currently suffers from cancer. And this is why my dear colleague Shubhra initiated this event to basically support people who suffer from cancer, or either people that you might know, to spread knowledge concerning, holistic health methods that could support us in the healing process. And I'm going to give you a short introduction on our panelists soon, but first I would like to ask one of our founders, Hubert, to give an introduction on Asha Experience itself as this beautiful platform available to us all. So Hubert, please take it away. I think you're on mute. I can unmute you if you want. Yeah. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Thank you, Pamela. Good evening, everyone. So together with Bijoya, we are founder of Asha. We are very happy to be Asha's founder. And I would like to welcome you to this event organized for the World Day Cancer, very briefly. So before I move ahead, I would like to, before we move ahead, I'll give you a short intro about Asha. So Asha Experience is a healing platform that offers Ayurvedic and yogic healings at people's doorstep around the world. But we not only offer online healing solutions, but also organize Ayurvedic treatment in India for various health issues of our community. We organize this event on this wonderful day today to make all of you know about the role of Ayurveda in cancer treatment. And I hope you will enjoy this event and give your feedback after the event. So thank you very much. Let you go ahead, Pamela.
Okay, perfect. Yes, and just to add on there, just so you know that, of course, yes, Asha also organizes like events, but also treatments, which you can actually take in India. So should you be interested after this event, or should you have questions about that, you can send an email to care@ashaexperience.com, or you can throw your question or your contact details in the chat window, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you. And the same goes if you want to get in touch with any of our therapists or doctors to know more about what's possible for you or any of your loved ones. Okay. So as I mentioned before, I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner myself. I run my practice here in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, where I'm from. And I lived for a long time in Spain, which is where I did my studies. I recently also graduated as an Ayurvedic practitioner with a bachelor from ISRA in The Hague myself. And I try to combine my Ayurvedic treatments as well with the knowledge of yoga to give the best support possible. So today we're going to have a very nice conversation about holistic healing methods when it comes to cancer. So first of all, we have Kim Smith. Kim is actually a breast cancer survivor. Welcome, Kim. Nice to have you. And she's a life coach as well. So as a breast cancer warrior, a woman of passion, vision, and purpose, Kim embodies a no-nonsense approach in her coaching style. And she is a living testament to the value of life's valleys and the power of acts of faith. So Kim here believes that firmly that when the individual actually makes a choice to heal and grow, like everyone in their lives can benefit from the healing energy to grow them as well. So we'll soon be hearing from Kim as well. She will tell us our story. Okay. So then we also have Dr. Sunita. Dr. Sunita is an Ayurvedic doctor with more than 17 years of experience, and she holds a Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery, and she's a gold medalist actually. She has a postgraduate in Panchakarma, and she treated and cured several patients from psychosomatic disorders. She has contributed to her esteemed service as the Chief Ayurvedic Consultant at Trinergy Health at New Berlin. And then we have another doctor today on our panel, which is Dr. Taruna. And Dr. Taruna is also an Ayurvedic doctor with more than 19 years of experience. And she specializes in food and nutrition, treating patients that suffer from mental health and lifestyle disorders. And she is currently based in Australia. So it's very early for Dr. Taruna. She shows her passion by being available to us and sharing her knowledge during today's conversation. And then we have Kelsey Bresnik. So Kelsey is a yoga teacher. She's also an Ayurvedic health practitioner, and she's a student of Vedic astrology. And for over a decade, she has conducted, supported, and taught innumerable trainings, including yoga teacher trainings, Ayurvedic chef training, and Ayurvedic treatment training in Hawaii, India, and New Zealand. And Kelsey is a trained Ayurvedic chef and treatment therapist, and she has developed and facilitated many programs, including an advanced Ayurvedic training and introductory yoga training. So then we have Margarita, and Margarita is an Ashtanga Vinyasa, Yin Yoga, and meditation teacher. And if I'm not mistaken, you are based in the UK, right? Okay. And she will tell us more about how yoga can support us when it comes to suffering from cancer. So we'll be having a very interesting conversation with her about that too. And we have Zore as well. So last but not least, Zore is a yoga instructor, and she is also affiliated with the Yoga Alliance in the USA. And besides that, Zore teaches Pilates, TRX, yoga and for fitness, aerobics, and gymnastics. So we're having a nice discussion both on the yoga and the meditation side. Okay, so that is the short introduction. Should you have any questions during our conversation for today, then feel free to leave them in the chat window. Maybe I cannot deal with your questions at the moment, but I try to be alert on any questions coming in during the interviews and exchange of ideas. Okay. So I actually wanted to start with you, Kim. Would love to have an introduction from you and for you to share your story with us. Through your cancer healing journey. And first of all, I wanted to ask you, when were you diagnosed, and how old were you at the time? I will just unmute you because you're on mute. There you go. You can speak now.
I'm sorry.
No
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. This is an amazing panel. And good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever the case may be to everyone all over the world. I'm in the US, so it's 11, a little after 11 here. But so my cancer journey was, I don't want to say amazing, but it was very interesting. I was diagnosed at the age of 38, but even before then, as a teenager growing up, I always had cystic breast, and so I had like 3 surgeries coming up as a teenager into my young adulthood, and the results were always benign. Meaning it's just a cyst, they just take it out and I go on with my life and that's that. And then so, when I was 38, I found another cyst. And I kind of like blew that off because, I was thinking it's probably nothing. So, but I eventually did go to the doctor to have it checked out. They did a breast exam and they came back and said it was very early stages of breast cancer. I caught mine very early, fortunately. And the early stages of my breast cancer, it was in my breast milk ducts, meaning it has not yet spread it throughout the breast, because I did catch it early, thank God. But and soon after that, I was given options about, you know, what is it that how I want to treat it. I had two options: radiation, chemo, or a double mastectomy, meaning just remove the breasts and rebuild them. You know, later on, reconstruction where they insert implants. And so I went for the latter. And after I decided to have my breast reconstruction and my implants put in, it was a very long, tedious journey. I'm sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
We can all hear you well.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, I opt to have the double mastectomy, which meant I had to get myself mentally prepared to accept these breast implants, if you will. But even before I could accept the breast implants, you know, I had to go through another surgery, because now they have to remove the breast and then rebuild the breast with implants. And I had to wear something called expanders. I know a lot of people out in the audience who've been through this know what expanders are if you opt to get breast reconstruction. And so I opt to get expanders, and that took like 6 months, and it stretches your skin to prepare you for the soft implants that come later down the road. And I think that took me like 6 months to prepare my breast. And that 6 months was just so much pain and torture. Oh my God. You know, my whole life my lifestyle, everything just totally changed. Nothing was the same. And I kind of fell into a state of depression because, you know how sometimes we can vegetables and then we put them on the shelf and we leave them until we're ready to eat them. But I found myself, you know, canning my emotions because I just wanted to hurry up and get this over and done with so I can, you know, move with my life and be a normal woman and do the things that I always, you know, love to do that I was doing before. And so I stuffed my emotions in these jars, you know, not literally, but mentally. And I put it on the shelf so I can just deal with, you know, going through my cancer. And so I realized that during the journey, when it was time for me to revisit those feelings again, I had a hard time and I fell into depression. And, you know, I say that to say to, you know, the women out there that are going through this, understand what it's going through, understand what you're going through with your body. And really understand it. And not only understand it, but include your loved ones. If you have a significant other or a spouse, include them because they're going through it as well, you know? And those are things that I didn't realize when I was going through mine. But when it was time for me to go and open that jar of preserves, I didn't know what to do because my feelings, when I took that lid off, my feelings was just all over the place. And I fell into, you know, the state of depression, and I found myself getting counseling, you know, getting some help for that. And so that was my, you know, that was the first journey on my breast cancer story.
Right. So how long did it take you basically to heal, to cure from your illness?
So, you know, that's a good question because I would have to say you're never fully healed. You may be healed physically, you know, and I have the scars to prove it, but mentally, it's an ongoing process because it's something that you never, you know, could imagine going through if you haven't been through it. And even so, the scars that it has left me, I'm constantly reminded of those scars. And at first I was, you know, a little, was feeling some kind of way about how my body looked, if I even felt like a woman again, you know, if I was, you know, still feminine, attractive to my husband, you know. And again, like I said, you have to include your loved ones because they are there going through it with you. And so I would say today I'm still going through it, you know, not in a bad way, in a good way, because I've brought myself up to understand, you know, what is happening and how to handle it. But it's something that you will always go through mentally. Yeah.
And I think it's a very valid point that you make, that, you know, when you're in the healing process, it's not just you. It's all your loved ones. It is your community, your surroundings, your family actually goes through the process with you. Exactly. So that's very well said. And what would you like to say, or what is a message that you could give to others from your experience, right? For people who are currently undergoing treatment, and especially women in case of breast cancer, as a piece of advice, maybe?
So I would, you know, tell them again, get some really good support. You must have a good support system, right? And understanding what it is that you are actually going through. There's so many different forms of breast cancer, better yet cancer, period. And, you know, I had to learn exactly what my body is going through. It's almost like a woman who's pregnant, and each month for those 9 months, she's understanding how that baby affects her, you know, on the inside, and how it grows and things of that nature. And so I would say really, you know, tune yourself into what's going on. Unlike me, I just wanted to put it in a jar and put it back on the shelf. But I had to eventually go back and open that jar. And when you open it and you experience all these feelings and you don't know what to do with it, experiencing the feelings is perfectly normal. Give yourself time to grieve. You must give yourself time to grieve. But grieve and then prepare yourself for your future. How am I going to handle this? Write down some goals. You know, join support groups again. If you don't have family and friends, join support groups on the outside. Exercising, eating healthy, and meditation. That is so important. You know, try to pick a time of each day or every other day. Take some time out and just take deep breaths and meditate. You know, write down your goals. Keep a journal. I'm in the process now of writing a breast cancer planner / journal for those of us out there that are going, you know, back and forth to the doctor's office. This will give you, it's like an address book / calendar, affirmations and things of that nature. But I would just say, you know, for the ladies out there, keep your head up, please, and just continue to fight. That makes you a warrior.
Sorry, we have some interference. Somebody just unmuted. That's a wonderful piece of advice, Kim, about journaling as well, and noting everything down, and, you know, also get those feelings out. So do you also believe that holistic healing plays a role in terms of handling the pain?
I do. It's kind of like mind over matter. So, you know, if it's been times where I have been in pain, and, you know, rather than concentrating on that pain, I would do things like meditation, you know, maybe taking, you know, some pain medication that may be prescribed by your doctor, you know, or over the counter. But knowing that you're not so, focused on that pain, and meditation can help you, get through that, get past that, and then I had begun to realize, to understand that it's not really a pain, it's a nuisance, but it's not really a pain. It's uncomfortable, but it's not really a pain, because I'm not so focused on that pain. I'm still going on about my day, So yes.
Right. That's wonderful. And I see we also had a question from Tracy, whether you use Ayurveda and yoga practices during your healing process. I mean, you mentioned meditation as well, but have you had put any use into Ayurvedic tools in that sense, or yogic practices?
I've done yoga practice probably about 2 or 3 times, because I am a high impact aerobic girl. I like to jump around, keep it moving. But for the most part, my meditation comes from just waking up, maybe reading. I read daily and nightly affirmations, that really help for those of us who are spiritually grounded. And this is very important. Your mindset, right? Your mindset has to be, in tune with your body. It's all about the mindset. If you wake up
Recording in progress.
and you're in a bad mood, that can affect how your day goes. So I try to, keep a positive mindset, and learning how to handle things that just don't go my way sometimes, because everything is not going to go your way. And so, but my breast cancer journey is ongoing, and I've learned to love my body with my scars, because, hey, you are not your scars. You are not your scars. You are a fighter, you are a warrior, and you can do this, you can get through this, but your mindset has to be there.
Well said. Well said. The mind is so important, and how we deal with situations like these. It's that is what the practice is generally for, right? And these are basically the tests of time as well. It's like, how do we respond to difficult situations? And that's wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing your story, your brave story, and your journey. So if there are any additional questions, please just put them in the chat and I can come back to them later. So with this, I would like to move on to our doctors to speak about Ayurveda and its role in terms of cancer. So Dr. Sunita, I would first like to ask you, can Ayurveda actually treat cancer?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for letting me be a part of this event here. Yeah, definitely, I will say that 100% there is no cure for cancer in Ayurveda, but along with other treatment with conventional therapies, conventional medications, some treatments, definitely Ayurveda can help, and it can enhance the process. In Ayurveda, we are using many herbs from 5,000 years before without any side effect, and definitely they will help you to recover faster from your cancer. But before you go with any Ayurvedic treatment or herbs, first we have to evaluate that if you are a right person or not. Just like a Western medication, all treatments are not based on a diagnosis. If one person is having a breast cancer, doesn't mean that the same treatment in Ayurveda can be applied for everyone. First, we have to see what body type you are having, what background you have, what is your mental state right now, because that is very important in Ayurveda, how much your sattva is. And based on that, definitely we have some treatments, some therapies, just like a Panchakarma. But again, we have to see that right now, this is the right time for a client or not. So in Ayurveda, it's going to be a very one-to-one, very customized, individualized approach.
Great, and thank you for that. And could you maybe give some examples of treatments that are very common in cancer patients when it comes to Ayurveda?
Yeah, Ayurveda is a combination of diet, supplements, and some therapies. So for diet, no one is going to wait. Just like if the client is coming on day one, I can start at least the diet part. And diet is in Ayurveda, there is no good or bad diet. No elimination diet. It's just about what body type you are having, what imbalances you are having. So that we can start from day one. And then second is going to be some herbs. There are many herbs which are very safe. If you are on chemo, if you are on radio, or if you are planned for a surgery, still you can take it. And third is going to be some treatment. So basically in Ayurveda, we have very good Panchakarma treatment. Those are detox therapies. But for that, we have to see the client is ready or not. Sometime it will take the day one from the consultation, maybe 4 to 8 weeks. If you are just going for a surgery, maybe you will do surgery and after that we will evaluate again and then we can do some treatment. But during that time, we have some very safe therapeutic treatments, just like Abhyanga, Shirodhara. Those treatment we can do without having any concern that whether they are going to do any negative or side effects on the client.
Okay, that's very interesting. It's very good to know. And Dr. Taruna, how do you see this? Do you agree with this view? Is this also the approach that you see in your practice?
Thank you for making me a part of this interesting topic and seeing people from different parts. I definitely agree with Dr. Sunita. Ayurveda helps in prevention and helps in raising the immunity and restoration of ojas, which is the cellular activity which gets depleted in cancer patients. We cannot cure cancer. We haven't said that we're curing cancer, but definitely the side effects related to chemo and radiotherapy can be minimized with Ayurvedic treatment. They act as a support system to the cancer patients. So like Kim mentioned, it's not only to your body, it's also the mind which is involved. So we put together both these aspects, so that we don't only deal with body when we're doing the Ayurvedic consult. We looked at all the aspects of the client and then work with them. Shirodhara Abhyanga help to restore that depletion of energy in a cancer patient, because it's mostly the word cancer causes a lot of fear. Fear decreases immunity in the body, irrespective of what it is. Acceptance and then working towards it would help you balance, to restore the balance of the body. And Ayurvedic treatments come handy there. Again, we can work with that, which treatment is required at what stage. Mostly after chemo and radio, we would refer the Rasayan Therapy to bring the energy in the body.
Right. I think it's very interesting what you say about the mind, right? So the mind also has to be strong enough to actually endure certain treatment, which is very important to consider when actually guiding someone on their healing journey. So Dr. Taruna, how do you see the treatments then? Does one need to go to the hospital and be hospitalized for the treatment?
One can be hospitalized for the treatment if they're in India. Basically, outside the Western world, it's very difficult to have the hospital treatment. So we have some in-house clinical treatments. We do not perform the whole Panchakarma in Western world, but when it comes to India, you can be hospitalized from 21 to 22 days, and you have all the 5 Panchakarma treatments which help restore balance, the doshas. Basically, in cancer, there is depletion of imbalance of Vata, Kapha, and Pitta dosha, but Kapha dosha is the main which has to be restored and balanced. And these can be helped with the Panchakarma treatments, which are the 5 main treatments we use is Vaman, Virechin, Nasya, Snehan, Rasya, and Raksh motion. These treatments can be performed in India because India has regulation. Outside, we do not. And Asha Healing Club, Asha Healing Hub has a center in India where we can take clients and help with those treatments. In Western countries, we mostly look at Abhyanga and Shirodhara and maybe Basti sometime, but not all the treatments.
Okay.
Also, we
Yes,
guide for meditation as well.
Okay. Okay. And so thank you very much for that clarification. So coming back to you, Dr. Sunita, so can Ayurvedic medication actually be taken simultaneously or during chemotherapy and the ingestion of conventional medicine?
Yes, there are many herbal medicines which are completely safe if you are taking along with your chemotherapy or any other conventional medications. Just like if you are already having diabetes or hypertension, we will not say that stop your medication, you cannot take it. If there is a need, we see that if you don't need that diabetic medication, then we can suggest you can talk to your doctor, then we will work with your doctor. It's not that my sole decision that you cannot take it, but definitely you can continue your Ayurvedic treatment with your chemotherapy, radiotherapy.
Okay, that is good to know. Very good to know. And so, Dr. Taruna, could you maybe give us some more information about prevention? So, do you think that cancer can be actually prevented by living an Ayurvedic lifestyle?
I would say 99% yes, cancer can be prevented when we are dealing with a holistic lifestyle approach. 1% chances, nobody has 100% guarantees for that. The Ayurvedic lifestyle, ahara vihara, is very important. Having a daily routine, balancing the doshas, like Dr. Sunita mentioned before, we don't eliminate, we don't stop any eating habits, but we tell all the 6 rasas are to be maintained, having good sleep for 6 to 8 hours, waking up on a regular time period, not having fast food, which is like processed food, having whole meals, and most of all, try to live a stressful life, which is kind of environmental stress is always there. But if we believe in meditation, yoga, and then work with that, it really helps to lead a very peaceful life.
Right. Thank you for that. Dr. Sunita, do you have anything to add on that, or do you maybe have a different view when it comes to prevention of cancer?
No, I agree with Dr. Taruna, because in Ayurveda, we believe more than cure, we believe in prevention. So definitely, if you are living a lifestyle according to Ayurveda, there are 100% chances or maybe 99% chances that you can avoid any problem, including cancer. And when we say about living healthy lifestyle, actually, we don't know what is a healthy and what is not healthy. There are so much information on Google. But in Ayurveda, we have to understand that if something is working for someone doesn't mean that it's going to work for me or for everyone. For an example, just like people, they are thinking about antioxidants. So they eat salad, uncooked food. In Ayurveda, if your gut is not healthy enough, if you have inflammation, salad is not a good choice. So you are not helping yourself, you are actually increasing the problem. And most of the problem, including cancer, the root causes inflammation and toxicity. So first we have to work how we can build a strong gut or digestive fire, and we can remove inflammation. So just about who you are, first we have to understand, and we cannot go just like everyone is doing, so I can do that. So if you want to follow any Ayurvedic lifestyle, diet, and I think you have to go and first see what your doshas are. And after evaluation, you can follow any diet or any recommendations.
Thank you, Dr. Sunita. I think it's a very valid point, because especially nowadays we follow a lot of trends, right? So you think, oh, okay, this is a nice detox therapy, I should take it, or supplements, especially the herbal
just like a paleo diet and all those things. And sometimes people are they are coming and they have already seen that this is not working for them, and they are feeling worse they were doing before the diet. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your answer. So we have a question from Garima for you, Dr. Taruna. So could you share a little bit more about what Rasayan therapy actually means? Sorry.
So the Rasayan therapy means to enhance the body energy. Chemotherapy and radiotherapy decreases the energy in the body. You have fatigue and tiredness. Rasayan means nourishment, care, and a lot of TLC, which we say in normal language. So Rasayan therapy is to nourish, provide a lot of massage, a lot of gentle massage to the area where the cancer has been there. So not to nourish those particular cells, but to everywhere else. Shirodhara to relax the mind, to relax the fear which has been sitting there and make the emotional balance out there. And also we have some herbs which help to bring the ojas up, up to nourish the body there.
Okay, and that is really good to know. And as like another question, additionally, for you, Dr. Taruna, now that you just mentioned this, do we also get cancer from what we eat or from social habits, for instance?
Definitely, what we eat is what we are. We eat in rush, we increase our Vata dosha. We eat with stress, we increase the Tamasic dosha in mind. So we have to be very careful what we eat. Nowadays, everything is on run. Patience is not there. So we have to be very mindful of what we are eating. Social habits like smoking, sunbathing, which is lot prevalent. People don't think that applying sunscreen helps, but they just go lie down in the sun. Being in Australia, we see that is very much common as the skin cancer due to sun. Also, stress is major factor. Genetics is another part which plays a big role in cancer, but stress related to what is happening around me, what the other person is saying, anger, these issues can be a part of having cancer. You may be doing everything right. You're living a healthy lifestyle in the terms of eating the right food according to what you think, but it may not be suited to your dosha type. And again, coming to what Dr. Sunita said, that having a proper analysis of doshas are required. There are so many online tests, but I would suggest that if you need a proper dosha analysis, you should always contact qualified Ayurvedic doctors, because what you read would be different to when you come to a qualified Ayurvedic doctor for the analysis, because we just don't deal with the current situation. We do a lot of talking, and we understand where your mind, body, and your soul is at that time. And that helps us to give you diagnosis correctly.
That's a very good point, and especially nowadays, because we have that many tests and quizzes online, after which we tend to give ourselves already an indication, oh, this is my predominant dosha, I'm going to eat this and this and that. And then it turns out that your constitution is completely different. So you've been maybe having habits that are completely incompatible with who you are, no? And not only the body, but also how your mind is by naturally, but also at the moment. So all these imbalances and your current surroundings, where you live, how your environment is, if you have support from family or friends or not, those are also very much of influence on how you deal with situations, right?
That's so true,
health.
Pamela. It is. Because nowadays it's like, if it's right for you, it will be right for me. If you're taking one Panadol, I can take Panadol and get cured. But medicine and healing is individualized. It's different because you are an individual in yourself. So what you are facing, what you're dealing is not what the other person is facing. So everybody has to be treated on an individual basis. And that's how the Ayurvedic treatments come in place.
Yes. And I like very much what you said, Dr. Taruna, about it's not only about what you eat, but it's also how you eat. If you eat in a rush, you don't chew your food properly, you're walking or doing other things at the same time, you just don't digest properly, as according to if you would actually, do it according to the rules basically of life and health in general. You have to digest everything from the subtle levels to the physical levels, right? Emotions are also something that we need to digest. So we tend to forget about that many times also, because the Western mind is so focused on rush and getting everything done on a fast pace. So thank you for that. So coming back to you, Dr. Sunita, how does one then deal with cancer once somebody has been diagnosed?
I think the news is very shocking. When anyone is diagnosed with cancer, I mean, just like no one wants to, but unfortunately, if you are going through that situation, the first emotion will come is going to be a fear. And the fear will come lots of why and what. And we just waste our energy to find the answer why this happened to me. And you are trying to work on a thing that you have no control. So I will say that gather all your energy and use the energy or invest your energy where you can utilize to heal your journey or yourself. And I mean, just like, right now, not only in Ayurveda, everywhere, people who are going through any kind of major sickness or illness, they have lots of support group, and hospitals, they are provided, especially because I'm in Canada, so you will get lots of, counseling and everything. But along with that, there are few other things, just like yoga, meditation. I think that will play a big role because we all have a limited source of energy. So we have to channelize that energy to heal ourselves. If you are going through lots of negative emotions, anger, irritation, or anything which is not going to be good for you, so you are going to waste your energy on those negative emotions. So you need someone who can work with you to channelize your energy. And I think you can find lots of life coaches or maybe a good yoga teacher or meditation teacher, because yoga and meditation, again, in the Western world, it's very hard to understand that this is not exercise, especially with the yoga. Yoga is a connection between your mind and body and your soul. And because in my practice, most of the time people, they give up after 6 months or maybe 6 weeks, that they didn't find any difference after doing the meditation. It's a waste of time. They are not able to focus on meditation. So meditation doesn't mean that you have to control your mind. Just let it be focused on one thing and just try to focus on your breathing. I will say that if you are unable to do that, then I will say that go with the guided meditation, but just keep doing that consistently, religiously, and believe me, after some time, you can feel the difference. And the second thing is going to be, whatever the reason is there for your cancer, I will say that eating good and healthy food according to your body will definitely help you to recover or reverse your process. So eat according to your body type. Don't just go with whatever the fashion is going on, just like elimination diet or this diet or that diet. And third thing, I will say that understand your body and try to listen to your body, because sometime before we are diagnosed with anything, your body is going to give you some signal, but we just ignore it because we are so much busy. So I will say that spending some time with yourself or not doing anything for some time, it's not a waste of time. Actually, this is an investment of time in yourself. So if you don't take that time out, then definitely you have to invest time to deal with any disease or sickness. So it's better, before we plan to have any kind of a disease, if we can invest some time to heal on a regular basis. Because for inflammation, for detox, we don't need a kind of a set time for Panchakarma or those things. You have to do on a regular basis, on every single day. Take out 10 minutes, 15 minutes, do mindful eating, and believe me, you can see a big change in your life.
That's so wonderfully said. And I'm also a firm believer about that. It's better to take small steps and be consistent over time, rather than to just wait for actually something like, big important diseases or illnesses to happen for you to actually have to take action, because then it's more difficult to reverse the process.
Because most of the time we wait for the ideal time that, oh, this time will come and when everything will be sorted out, then I will go for a treat and I will do the detox. Detox doesn't happen in 21 days. Definitely, this is a part of a process. But for that, we have to start doing good practices on a regular basis. And it doesn't need much time. Just 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, according to your work schedule. You can make your own schedule. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to get up at 4 o'clock or you have to do certain practices after 6 o'clock. There are so many things we can customize according to your need.
Exactly. And like you say, it can be very simple, right? It can be from just drinking hot water to maybe
Yes.
fasting if it's applicable. It doesn't have to
Yes,
be so
yes.
complicated.
No, no, even the fasting also means sometimes people, they have so much fear about the fasting, but in Ayurveda, we have different kind of fasting. Just like you can do a breathing fasting with the meditation, and you will get the same result that you are doing with your food.
Exactly, exactly. That's wonderful. And Dr. Taruna, how do you see this?
I just wanted to add a few more things.
Sure.
It's a journey. It's not a quick fix. If you think first is the acceptance, yes, you've been diagnosed, acceptance is there. Your family support is something which you need the most. Your support network comes in there. You have to understand you are suffering, but with your suffering, your family is also suffering. So it is a question of acceptance of what is happening with your body. And the journey would be long. When we have that acceptance, then we can work slowly towards it. And then the healing process starts. Once we have acceptance, the healing will continue. But if we have fear, the healing will not continue. And small changes to lifestyle, slowly, but definite changes. And Ayurveda is evolving with modern day practice. We are in a rush. Not most of the time in my clinic, I hear people say, "Oh, it's an Asian system of medicine. We can't do this. We can't try this. We can't do that." But it's like one step at a time. You try one change, do it for at least 21 days. You see the difference, and then you move on to the next stage. And like Dr. Sunita said, daily changes, daily lifestyle changes, small changes which impact your healthy living goes a long way. But if we think it's a quick fix, snap of a finger, we won't get there.
Exactly, exactly. Well said. Thank you very much. We do have a question from Siv. So it's about meditation. We're going to speak about meditation in a bit as well. But since you also, Dr. Sunita, you mentioned this, I'm going to ask you, so does it matter what kind of meditation you do related to the doshas? And is it important that you learn to meditate the proper way with a teacher, for instance, because sometimes you also learn through YouTube, books, but is it recommended or not? So 2 questions in one.
Yes, of course. I will always say that if you are learning anything in person, that is better than any YouTube. Because, YouTube is just if you have some understanding or basic understanding, after that you can follow any YouTube or any channel or any medium you like it. But initially, I will say that you have to have one-to-one approach, because before meditation practice, if the person is not having any idea what is going on in your life, maybe with their own experiences, they can guide you. Okay, if that is a situation, maybe this meditation will not work for you. For an example, if a person is predominant with the vata dosha and the vata imbalance is going on, it's very difficult for them to focus, because their mind is going to be just like air. You cannot focus. It's going to be very difficult for you to sit for even a minute. So in that case, with my own experience, as I told you, for them, I will not say do the quiet meditation. I will say that always do guided meditation. And during the meditation, I will tell them what kind of breathing practice they can incorporate with that, so that they will not feel that how to spend the time for half an hour or 15 minutes or 10 minutes. So it's very important that you have to have a guru or a teacher.
Well, thank you very much for that, for the clarification. So thank you, doctors, for giving us your insights and for sharing your experience. So with this, I would like to move on to Kelsey. So Kelsey, hi. You're based in Canada, right? So I hope it's okay with you with the time difference and that you're doing well. So from your perspective, we would like to know if one should make changes in the diet or lifestyle that we just spoke about earlier as well, during or after the treatment when it comes to cancer. And what is the role of nutrition in general? If you could give us a little bit of info about that.
Yes, nice to see everybody. I'm very glad to be here, and it's been great to listen to everything so far. And before I start with the nutrition piece, actually, I just heard Dr. Taruna mention that Ayurveda being an ancient practice, being an ancient science. And I like the word shashwat, the Sanskrit word shashwat, which means unchanging. And so Ayurveda, I like to think about it rather than ancient, I like to think about it as unchanging. And that timelessness for me creates that sense of reliability that I can trust because it's unchanged, unlike the fad diets that have been mentioned that go up and down, which I personally definitely was part of, jumping on and jumping off. And so that timeless nature, that shashwat, unchanging aspect of Ayurveda is why I love learning about it and practicing it and working with it so much. So one of the things that is of utmost importance in Ayurveda is the digestive tract. And so the digestive tract is very much, very directly related to the state of illness or the state of disease. And so that digestive tract is an environment. And when we have long-term indigestion or issues with that digestive tract, then there's toxic accumulation that happens and the doshas become aggravated as well. And then the condition, the environment becomes distorted. And as a result, our immunity becomes weakened and it creates a state where things that aren't natural for the body can begin to develop and form. So disease of any kind, basically. So how we approach our nutrition and our diet, it either keeps that digestive tract healthy and balanced, and it feeds our body tissues with nutrition that feeds their natural intelligence and ability to heal and know what healing needs to happen on a moment-to-moment basis, or how and what we eat can degrade that environment and lead again to toxicity, to inflammation, and ultimately to disease formation. So when we look at the role of nutrition in treatment, then essentially the approach is to keep the environment as high prana, or with as much life force as possible, and the cells as healthy as we can, because just like everything on the planet has a natural intelligence, each and every one of our cells has a natural intelligence as well. And so we want to allow them to be able to access their innate healing potential. And we do that by keeping them as the cells as pure and as high vibration, with as much nutrition as is possible. And then, as was mentioned, and we also look at the individual very much, and what is the condition of their digestive tract and their doshas. And we look at any imbalances or balances that are being supported by food. And ultimately, the idea is that we're going to reverse the condition in the digestive tract that's causing the environment that allows the cancer cells to proliferate. And then we ideally will change the pattern so that that condition in the digestive tract is not recreated in the future, which then would allow for the digestive or for the cancer to potentially come back. So it was discussed already, and I like this too. That it's equally as important as what we eat is how we eat. Because if we don't learn to eat our food in a way that supports digestion and absorption, then it doesn't matter how pure or how clean or how high vibration or how organic the food is. If the body can't digest it properly, it can't draw the nutrients. And on the same thread, even if we're eating a diet that's not particularly ideal, we're going to get the most nutrition from it when we learn how to eat it in ways that the body can actually access what is there. And so chewing your food, spacing the food with enough time for the digestion to do its work. Those are some of the hardest changes to make for people, but they are some of the simplest and least overwhelming in terms of making physical changes to what we're doing that can help tremendously for a recovery and for prevention. So Pamela, in terms of your question about should people make changes in their diet or lifestyle during or after treatment, it will 100% help for sure. Food literally becomes the tissues in our body. We eat the food and it gets transformed into the 7 layers of tissues consecutively. And so by what we eat, we're actually building the physical makeup of our body. And when we have, balanced body tissues, the cells and the body have resiliency and good quality to combat any distortion that does happen to come there. So some of the basics that we look at when we bring Ayurveda to the diet is the freshness, that food is whole, that it has its life force or its prana in it, that it has a purity. So the body recognizes things that are natural and it processes them better than things that are unnatural. So what we would look at is moving the diet toward more whole, fresh foods and away from more of the genetically modified or preservative, chemically based, additive, artificial colors, those types of things. The body is very resilient. I will say that, and it does adapt to what we do to make the best of it. So the body is absolutely incredible in what it can do, but what we do does has effects in terms of things like clogging the energetic channels and the physical channels in the body, which then again impact the intelligence of the cells and their ability. Each cell also has an Agni, a digestive fire, and that allows the cell to metabolize the different influences that it is exposed to. And so we want to keep things as fresh and whole and pure for the body to have each of those little cells have their metabolism, and then the body as a whole. So we also talk about the mind. And so what we put into the body, it directly affects the body, but it also is very much about the mind, and keeping the mind in as high a place as possible really supports the healing process. And so the foods that have more sattva or more light and harmony, which again are going to be those fresh, whole, more naturally based foods, are the ones that are going to support that lightness of the mind. So the mind can stay more in that higher level. And then, so it definitely supports the treatment. There's certain things in Western medicine and in Ayurveda that do contribute to the cancer cells growing more than they would if we did not consume certain foods. So things like a very high fat, non-vegetarian diet will contribute to potentially the faster proliferation of cancer cells, things like refined sugar, and even foods that are very good, that provide growth and expansion and allow for the development of our body tissue. Some of those can be suggested to reduce during cancer itself to avoid the growth of the cancer cells. So even things like dairy and eggs are some of the foods that we might reduce or replace for a time during that process. So there's some commonalities we look at, always in the context of the individual in that way. And then after treatment, I will say this as well. After treatment, I'm glad you brought this up, because I think that is such a key thing. And I think that's where Ayurveda and its emphasis on diet and lifestyle is very valuable, because again, the condition of the digestive tract is very much related to our ability to process through disease conditions or pathogens that we come into contact with. And so I even know examples of people, I'm thinking of one man in particular, who did go to India, who did do Panchakarma, who spent 4 weeks, to get rid of to help the process of his cancer, and had great results. But this particular center didn't talk to him about and didn't support him in making some key changes that were causing the condition that allowed for the distortion. And so he went home, and it came right back. And so, we can do, if we keep doing what we're doing, then in most cases, we're probably going to keep getting similar results. And so little by little, making changes that create a different environment in our gut is what's going to keep our experience evolving into something different. And so to say to that, that it's okay. We all get to choose, and making changes with our food is especially challenging. But we do have the capacity in the Kali Yuga, in this time period of humanity, we do have the capacity to live up to 100 or 120 years old. That's what it's often said, is that lifespan that the body is capable of at this time period. And so the more that we're aware of the food that we're putting in our body and the attitude with which we take it, I also know some really lovely stories. It's like, even if you can't get great food, or it's foods you might not choose to eat for certain reasons, that if you take it in with gratitude and love, and you put your good energy into it, then it's going to do good things for you, which is really, really a beautiful thing. So I think, I think that's, there's definitely things, keeping the diet a little lighter, and then having certain themes, just allowing the support of the digestive tract, restores the environment back to its cellular best, and then builds that ojas, or that vitality, immunity, and ultimately our blissfulness, which supports the healing process as well.
Right, exactly. So thank you so much, Kelsey. So, and I fully agree with you as well. Even if you don't have like maybe a fully organic meal in front of you, if you've prepared it with love, with joy, and you actually have positive emotions while you're eating, you'll already get the benefits from it, right? Versus then maybe if you have an organic meal and you're angry while you're eating it, or you're in a rush, it's still, you won't digest it properly. So it's all about finding the balance, and not only on the physical level, but on all the different levels that we've also discussed a little bit before. So coming back to what you just mentioned about ojas and vitality and vigor, right? So can a weak immune system actually cause cancer, according to your perspective?
Yeah, it would definitely impact it, I will say, because there's so much that goes into the cause of cancer, depending on the type of cancer and the person and their tendencies. But I would say it definitely impacts it. And that the more we support a balanced immune function, that the more we avoid whatever imbalanced tendencies that we might have, based on our constitution and based on our karmas. And so usually, though, anything that has to do with disease condition does involve the digestive tract and does involve a level of lowered immunity. So I would say that addressing immunity is definitely a key. And especially too, just for the process of going through the treatments, the more that we can support that, again, the body's vitality and vigor in each of those cells, then the better. So yeah, I think anytime that we are experiencing ongoing low immunity or issues with getting sick often, I think that's always a signal and a sign that the body is, that it's suffering somewhere, and that something will develop as a result of that. We have so many symptoms. Oftentimes in Western medicine, it's like in the stages of disease of Ayurveda, maybe stage 4 or so is when Western medicine will pick up and actually diagnose a disease as a disease condition. But we have all of these symptoms leading up to that point, including getting the common cold and flu on a regular basis. That tells us, wait a second, there's some changes that we can make to potentially reverse or to soften the trajectory that we're on as well.
Exactly. And like you say, these are already signs, maybe in an early stage, how you recover from a small cold. Does it take you 7 days? Are you still coughing after a month? These are also, gives us an indication on how much strength we have and how our immune system is actually doing, so we can take action on that. So this brings me to my next question, actually. So how do you think we could jumpstart the immune system with the help of Ayurveda?
Yeah, and I think one of the best ones was mentioned earlier by one of the doctors, was more hot water, sipping hot water through the day.
Hot water,
cold
yeah,
constricts and it reduces flow. And what we want is flow in the body. And that's, again, when toxicity is cleared out, when energy moves. And so sipping hot water throughout the day, or at a minimum room temperature. So that's really valuable. Ginger tea is really good for stoking the digestion, which then again is linked directly to our immune function. And then more cooking more than not also, again, supports the digestive function, which is then directly translated into our immune capacity. So I would say those are 3 ways that we could all easily start the immune system functioning better. And then also the balance of the 6 tastes was mentioned, and just starting to use some spices. I think in Western countries, it's common to use spices in the cooking a lot of times, but even if you're using a little bit of salt and then some ginger, and a couple spices here, it helps to support the digestive process, which again leads directly to the immune function. I think it's it's less common to be using spices like that. Whereas in Asian cultures or in India, then the spices are naturally more a part of the diet. So I think that's a consideration as well for people potentially in European countries, but in North America, as from what I see as well.
Yeah, and I've seen that also in my practice concerning the spices. Like many times I hear, yeah, it's black pepper, white pepper, and salt, and there's so many other things that we can do to power the digestive system, and with that, eventually the immune system, right? Even like simple cumin, for instance, we can add that to so many different things. Ginger is very common right now, but of course, as the doctors also said, I think we should be mindful according to our constitution and our predominant dosha whether we use something or not. You can get ginger tea in every cafe around the corner, right? But if it's good for you, that's a good question. So it's always very personalized and very individual. So Kelsey, thank you very much for your insights. Really appreciate it. So I'm going to be moving on to our yoga and meditation teachers. I might come back to you in a bit to ask you a little bit more, since that's also one of your expertises. So Zore, hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Everything's good. I'm candid to hear from you.
I'm glad to be here. Hello, everyone.
So Zore, how does yoga help to deal with cancer during and after the treatment? We've spoken a little bit about it before as well, but how do you see that as a yoga teacher?
Firstly is lower fatigue. Cancer patients suffer from a lot of pain, which becomes them tired. So doing regular yoga can help them to lower fatigue during their treatment. Secondly is reduce stress. As you know, battling life-threatening diseases is physically, emotionally, and mentally stressful. So doing yoga and meditation are able to improve quality of life and appetite and reduction in pain. And next is sleep better. What I'm trying to say is that cancer patients suffer from sleeplessness. And some researchers have found yoga and meditation both to be able to help improve sleep quality and efficiency and duration at night, And also is improve physical functioning. Spending time in the hospital, clinic, sick at home because of chemotherapy session, and can make the body sore and stiff. Therefore, patients have some problems with doing daily tasks. As a regular form of exercise, yoga is a gentle way to stay active. And finally is lower risk of recurrence. Most patients, as you know, are worried about after treatment. So regular exercise through yoga and meditation are one way to keep the risk in control.
So thank you very much for that, Zore, and also believe, as we've spoken with the doctors before as well, we do have a lot of patients maybe who are bedridden, right, who cannot actually do a physical yoga practice, cannot do asanas, and there's so many things we can still do, right? We discussed about the mind before as well, and how we actually go through the healing journey of cancer by having a strong mind. So that's very important in the process, and it will impact as well how one heals, right, and how long the journey might take. And what you also, what I see, in my practice and when I teach classes, that you can have the yoga of so many things. My teacher from Mumbai used to tell me to have the yoga of something is to be fully present and to do it with the full dedication and to actually put your whole heart and your whole mind into it and be in the present moment. So it can be like anything, right, from cooking a wonderful meal and doing that, being fully immersed into that, to listening to positive music, nice sounds to bring some harmony to the mind as well, or to something that you love, like playing with your pet or or maybe even gardening. So it's like very diverse, and it's very ample and accessible to everybody, right? The yoga practice. I also believe, like being a yoga teacher myself, is that many times we are so focused on the yoga asanas that we forget about everything else, because the asana is like this small piece of the yoga practice, and there is so much more to it. The asana gives us an access to many more things, right? To actually learn to know ourselves, and to properly heal, and to come back to finding the essence of who we are, aside from the role that we have in this world today. Like you're a mom, or you're a teacher, or the job that you might have, that doesn't define you, right? From within. So I just wanted to add on that. So as you mentioned, the treatment, like when one is ill, so during the treatment and after the treatment, how long do you believe that one should be doing a practice?
And, as I mentioned before, yoga is not only doing some physical practices, but also it has other aspects, some, as you know, breathing techniques, mind practice, meditation, and relaxation. So it can help all people, regardless of age and situation. I want to say we can adopt practice to the person instead of person to the practice. However, to reach the goals of practicing, such as wellness, reducing pain, feeling good, and many others, the important point is consistency. As a result, we can start with simple practice, such as breathing meditation, breathing technique, meditation, and doing some, simple stretches and simple postures, some Viparita Karani and Supta Baddha Konasana, and seated meditation. And then we can increase practices gradually. But the important part is continuing. And also, I should add it, if the patient, the cancer patient, are very tired, they can study about the philosophy of yoga and watch some movie, informative movie video through the YouTube. Is a good one.
Yeah, and I think that is very interesting, that what you just said also about the breath, because the breath is life, right? It also gives us mobilization of prana, basically, which we do through nutrition on so many different levels, through our food, but basically also through the breath. So if we don't have a breath, we don't have a proper flow, right, of energy, basically, throughout the body and also about the mind. And when you have stagnation, you actually have an imbalance that can go from a cloudy mind to a stagnation on the digestive level as well. So that's interesting that you mentioned that. And I also think that, besides what we do, for instance, on the physical practice with the breath, we have so many nice pranayama that we can actually apply. So somebody who cannot move, or who cannot walk or do certain poses, they can still do anuloma viloma, and they can still maybe do simple inhaling and exhaling at a different pace and count their breaths to actually calm the nervous system. So I think it's very good that you also pointed out that there's so much more, right, than the poses, and that the philosophy is also an important part of the fundamentals of yoga itself. So thank you very much for that. Dr. Sunita, I just wanted to ask you as well, how do you see that with the yoga practice, like from your experience with patients? Is there something you want to add on to that?
No, I think you have already covered, just like definitely if someone is going through chemo, radio, or any kind of a treatment, if physically they are not able to move, they feel very tired. So they can start with the breathing exercises. That is going to be a pranayama. But again, pranayama, there are tons of pranayama available. As you mentioned, anulom vilom, that is going to be a start. No contraindication, any time of the day, with food, without food, you don't have to worry about that. And definitely it will help you to calm down your nervous system. But there are few exercises little bit we can do according to your dosha. If you feel that your vata is imbalanced or pitta is imbalanced, according that Chandra Bedi, Surya Bedi, you can practice a little bit more than just Anulom Vilom. But definitely Anulom Vilom, whenever you feel anything, I will say that that is a quick fix remedy. You can immediately feel some relief. And definitely, if you are not able to do that, also watching some videos, some information, so that you can prepare yourself for the future practices. That will help.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for that. So with this, I would like to move on to our final panelist. So lovely Margarita, I don't see you on my screen right now. So if you just unmute, then you'll probably pop up on my monitor right now.
I think she's not there. I can't find her
She's
too.
not. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe some technical snag at her end, and she's not there at this moment.
Okay, it could be. Yeah, so in any case, I had a couple of questions for Margarita, considering the types of meditation and other healing methods. But I can mention a few methods to you, just to give you from my experience and from the practices that I've done and that I've taught to others. So when it comes to meditation, we tend to make it very complex, right? You need to sit in a Padmasana in silence on the floor and control the mind. It's just not about that at all. The whole problem with controlling the mind is what we do basically 24 hours a day, maybe sometimes even when we're asleep, right? Like I should feel this, I should not pay attention to the washing machine while I'm sitting here. That is already the mind being active, speaking about an activity of the mind itself, right? So meditation also for people that are actually suffering from cancer, bedridden or not, can be something very simple, can be even when you're laying down, closing your eyes and maybe visualizing that you have a white, bright light going throughout the different parts of your body, and sending light to the parts where you're to be healed if you're suffering, for instance, from a tumor in a certain part or a certain area of your body, and send that positive energy, send that prana by visualizing, for instance. And as Dr. Sunita also mentioned before, depending on your dosha, right? So people that have very high vata dosha tend to be have like a little bit of an uncontrolled mind, in the sense of thoughts going from one to the other. And then maybe in that case, a guided meditation is even a better option, because if you hear a voice, somebody guiding you through a whole process, maybe through a story that they're telling you, or asking you to visualize different colors, or imagining that you're in an area surrounded by greens, with wonderful sounds, within nature, with the clear air, that already helps as well. So you move on from that process, and it's a dynamic process. So meditation is not something you sit and you do, right? It comes over time. So consistency is also key, but of course every day is different. So if one suffers from a serious illness like cancer, it can be that one day you have a lot of pain, and then the next day you might be able to lay down or sit still for 30 minutes, actually do a guided meditation, or listen to some other sounds. So that really depends. So what I believe is that it's important to see where the need is, what is right for you at that very moment, what can support you the best way, because there is no quick fix and there's not one solution for all. And that goes for the yoga, the meditation, and for anything that entails an Ayurveda, right? Then, of course, when it comes to meditation, the powerful healing of sound is very much underestimated as well. So a little bit earlier, we spoke also about listening to music, positive music, or maybe even listening to something while you're cooking, bringing these positive vibes basically to the surface. But imagine mantra, something as simple as chanting an Om, or even putting on a mantra that is repeated for about 12 to 15 minutes on Spotify or on YouTube, can already help to actually still the mind, right? Which is also what we want to achieve with yoga. So a cessation of the fluctuation of the mind, because this is what we're basically are imposed by. We get these influences from outside every day, making our minds so overactive that we basically, there's so many clouds in front of us that we don't see the sky anymore. So that can also be a very valuable tool for you to use. Even some people, maybe they have something that they cannot chant. Well, then, listening to music is a very nice option. You can chant your mantra also from the inside, but being in stillness and in your mind, in your head, just chanting Om repeatedly, or any other mantra for that matter, because there's so many of them with beautiful incantations. Just coming back to that, right, with the mind, it's basically when somebody suffers from cancer, we could just focus on getting better. So maybe one will not 100% heal. Maybe the healing journey will be for the rest of their lives. Also, like Kim mentioned in the beginning, it's like the journey is forever, right? And there's a lot of fear that has come into that as well, as the doctors mentioned. So how do you deal with that? Once you've healed physically, you might still have some fear in there from what if, worry, or what if something comes back, or what will I do? So all these things, these tools are very valuable, that will help us to remain stable and to remain grounded. So that is something that I wanted to also share with you, and I'm sure many of you already do some wonderful practices, but I think it's very important to look at what you need in a different moment and what are you able to actually handle. Okay, so I'm going to go to the chat for a second because I see some questions popping up. And let's see. So Lokendra, so you just asked if any treatment of lymphoma can be told in Ayurveda. So I think maybe, do you mean if there is an Ayurvedic treatment for lymphoma? Am I correct? If you are there, please feel free to unmute. Lokendra, I cannot see you. And maybe you have left in the meantime. I'm not sure. Okay, in any case, I think there was another question from you, Tracy, regarding nutrition, right? So you said nutritionists in Western medicine advise that one should increase protein in their diet, but in Ayurveda, we don't particularly focus on protein. What do we do? So maybe Kelsey, would you be able to answer that question for Tracy?
Sure. So from the Ayurveda perspective, then I think this goes back to what we were talking about of the one size prescriptions, and people say one thing and we think it applies to us, and it may not. And so that's the issue with the Western recommendations for food. In Ayurveda, what we do is we look at the qualities in ourselves and the qualities of anything that we consume, including the food. And anything can be used Ayurvedically, by the way. Some people are like, oh, but it's not an Ayurveda food, or it's not an Ayurveda herb. But Ayurveda is really about the principles and understanding the balance of the elements, and then in nature, and for example, in animal proteins, and then how it impacts the body. So some of the times where that protein, I'm assuming by protein that you're talking about animal meat, it's heavy, it's building, it's usually in many cases warming, heating. So there is some value in certain quantities and preparations for people. Meat soups are something that are suggested in some cases when there is vata derangement, when there is vata aggravation and emaciation, to build the body tissues back. So it is used, and it can be used to help keep vata dosha balanced and warmed. But always we need to look at the digestive condition and support that to be able to eat the foods that we might suggest or might choose to eat. And that's one of the issues with the tradition or the lineage of Ayurveda that I study with. The doctors recommend that whereas in the past, when the diets were generally lighter, people were generally healthier, and then people did better having animal proteins more frequently. because of that, how they lived and what the diet was. And that in modern times, the diet's very rich. A lot of the animal proteins are grown or raised with hormones and things like that. And that's all things that affect our ability to digest it. And then our digestions are generally tend to be a little weaker. So in terms of the protein, I've heard, my teachers and doctors talk about, try to keep it to the mid, like looking at the how are you eating it? How much are you eating per serving? What is the frequency? What is the time of day? And just starting to work with increasing our ability to digest it and utilize it. And for most people, they'll say maybe, once or twice a week, try that and see how you feel. And that's always the thing to look at is how do you feel? From the Ayurveda perspective, rather than have X amount of protein, it's really about the 6 tastes and a balance of the 6 tastes, and that we're getting enough of the building quality, which comes from the sweet taste, not sugar necessarily, but the natural sweet that's present in many of the legumes and in the grains and in the root type veggies. And so in order to have appropriate building of the body tissues, and to have that strength that comes, I think that a lot of people look for from the animal proteins, then the balance of the 6 tastes and making sure we're having enough of that guru and that sweet type influence of the food. So it is different. We don't look at calories, we don't look at proteins, but we look at the qualities. And if someone needs the heavy that meat provides, or that protein provides, then that might be emphasized for them more at certain times than others. But generally, moderation is what we look at. Not doing anything to extremes, and just starting with, if you're someone who eats a lot of protein, just start by reducing it a little bit and notice how you feel. And if you feel a difference in that, do you feel lighter, more clear? And sometimes the energy will actually improve. But working with someone as well to find that balance for you and how to have it in a healthy way can be helpful as well.
Thank you so much, Kelsey. So we're a little bit over time, so I'm just going to come back to a last question, which was from Lokendra, and Lokendra just confirmed that yes, this was the question about whether there is a treatment for lymphoma according to Ayurveda. So Dr. Taruna, could you maybe say something about that?
Again, like I said, we help in prevention of cancer. The treatment for lymphoma is, we won't be able to suggest on this wider platform without meeting the client, because we don't know what are the sufferings, what is going on behind the scene. But the cure and prevention is there, and the treatment would be based on what the condition and at what stage it is. If it's very initial stage, we can work with that. But if it's developed, because mostly what happens with Ayurveda is people come after every resource is exhausted. After everywhere people have given up, they have said, that's it, we can't do anything. You have so many, 2 months, 6 months, 8 months, and that's when people start approaching alternative medicines. So it's not a journal answer where I can give at this platform, but I would leave it to Dr. Sunita if she has more to add.
So Dr. Sunita, would you like to add?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I agree. No, that's okay. I agree with Dr. Taruna that, without meeting any client, we cannot say anything. Definitely, we have to see right now what is going on behind the scene. So once we meet, and then we can decide, maybe we can work with whatever the treatment is going on. But as of now, I cannot say that any treatment that will cure. I don't know. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also it's a good point that you just mentioned, Dr. Taruna. It's like one illness can manifest in 1,000 different ways according to the person, right? So and depending on the stage of the disease, of course. So many factors that you need to take into account to be able to decide whether you could actually treat someone or not. So very valid point. All right. So with this, I'm going to just close the session.
Sorry, can I add?
So many. Yes, of course.
It was about the protein and the diet. I just wanted to add one more thing to it, because I understood Tracy was talking about animal protein. And like Kelsey said, that it's guru in Ahar. in the rasa type. And if it's in relation to cancer, we would try to minimize it because it increases the kapha dosha. And when the cancer is present in the body, the kapha dosha is the vata and kapha doshas are the first to be vitiated. So we would minimize, and like Kelsey said, just don't stop immediately because your body would have adverse effects. Taper it down. Start having it in the afternoon rather than at night, and go for soups and lighter portions rather than having a whole chunk of it. And slowly minimize it out of your system. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for adding. No, very important, important point, and very valid. Because I think also, of course, we follow the nature, right? We follow our Agni, our digestive fire. So changes should also be made gradually in whatever way possible. If we go from one extreme to the other, it's also even very difficult for the body and the mind to adjust to that, especially after many years. Okay. So if I don't see any more questions in the chat, so if that's okay, we're going to just close for today. I'm so happy that so many of you joined. Actually, it really makes me happy. So on a Friday evening, to see so many of you here on World Cancer Day, just to listen in, get maybe inspired or learn about holistic healing methods and how you can maybe support others, right? So it's all about caring for others, and I think sharing is caring. So whatever insights or small tools that you might have received today, I hope you will be able to implement them or to share them with the people around you. Should you have any questions after the session, again, like I said at the beginning of this afternoon, you can send an email to Care, C-A-R-E @ashaexperience.com. And that goes as well for if you would like to get in contact with any of our panelists. Maybe you would like to learn more from Kim about her work in terms of coaching, or maybe you want to learn more about nutrition with Kelsey, or get in touch with one of the doctors or our yoga teachers. Feel free to drop us a line, and we'll be happy to support you whatever way possible. With this, I would like to thank you very much. Wishing you a wonderful weekend. It is very early wherever you are. I would say have a nice Friday, and then have a nice weekend. And yeah, keep in touch, and hopefully we see each other again on a next occasion.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pam. Thank you. So
Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you, doctors, and all our participants. And we really appreciate your participation, and we hope to see you soon.